just kind of let it do its course, and it just wasn't working.
The Jimmie Allen divorce scandal just got crazier. A young woman in her 20s has come forward with disturbing allegations against Jimmie, and what's apparently been going on for years in Jimmie's personal life while he was married is both shocking and unbelievable. It was crazy enough to hear from Jimmie that he and his wife Alexis were separating. Jimmie released a very carefully worded statement, and Alexis followed that up with a strange and short comment of her own. The most shocking thing that we found out was that Alexis is pregnant with their third child. That sounded crazy, but it seems like old news now, because new accusations have been directed at Jimmie, and this information is seriously disturbing because it involves a former manager of Jimmie's. This manager is the young woman in her 20s I mentioned. She worked with Jimmie for around 18 months, and during that time she was allegedly subjected to terrible mistreatment and physical harm by Jimmie. The claims she made are horrifying, and what Jimmie is accused of doing to her is unbelievable. The woman's name has not been released, but she's been referred to in court documents as Jane Doe. That's because the woman has filed a lawsuit against Jimmie. Apparently Jimmie is calling these allegations deeply troubling and hurtful, although he is admitting something shocking. He has confessed that he did have an intimate relationship with this woman, but Jimmie is insisting that their relationship was consensual. Whether or not her allegations are proven to be true, Jimmie was still married when this so-called consensual relationship was happening. And that makes Jimmie's announcement on April 21st even crazier. That's when he posted his Instagram message about separating from Alexis. There was no reason given in Jimmie's post as to why he and Alexis were separating, and that just makes Jane Doe's story even more chilling and compelling. She's given specific details about Jimmie's alleged mistreatment. In May 2021, Jimmie appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Even though Jimmie is a Grammy-nominated country star and hugely successful, he wasn't on Ellen to perform country music. Jimmie was promoting a new project. Shockingly, it was a children's book. During Jimmie's segment on Ellen, images were displayed on a screen with sweet pictures. It was pictures of Jimmie, Alexis, and their kids, including their new baby girl. Jimmie described what the book was about. He talked about teaching kids to stand up for themselves so they would become more confident adults who can speak up for themselves and others. Shockingly, Jane Doe has revealed that she was backstage during Jimmie's appearance on Ellen. Unbelievably, Jane Doe had to listen to Jimmie talk so lovingly about his wife and kids, while she carried a terrible secret about what Jimmie allegedly did to her. Jane Doe claimed that Jimmie manipulated her after she was hired to be his day-to-day manager. She alleged that Jimmie physically harmed her in so many disturbing ways, and supposedly Jimmie did these terrible things to her constantly. Jane Doe even described a devastating encounter with Jimmie that allegedly occurred in March 2021. And if these accusations are true, it's unthinkably cruel. Jane Doe said that she was in Los Angeles with Jimmie on a work trip. On this trip, Jimmie was appearing as a celebrity guest on American Idol. Jane Doe said that she went out for a business dinner with Jimmie, but it turned into something horrifying. Jane Doe alleged that she woke up the next morning without clothes on. She also claimed that she was in serious pain and she was bleeding. Shockingly, Jane Doe alleged that she wasn't alone. She claimed that Jimmie was with her, and it's unbelievable to read what Jane Doe claimed that Jimmie said to her. According to Jane Doe, Jimmie allegedly insisted that she take the Plan B pill. If this is true, it's horrifying, because the Plan B pill is taken when a woman wants to avoid pregnancy in the first 24 hours after an intimate encounter. Shockingly, Jane Doe supposedly has no memory of what happened the night before. And even worse, if her allegations are true, Jimmie stole her innocence, because she had never been intimate with anyone else before. Apparently, Jane Doe also has a response for anyone who thinks she should have quit or stood up for herself. She claimed that Jimmie's mistreatment paralyzed her, and she felt powerless to fight him off. This shocking story was published exclusively on the Variety website. They reached out to Jimmie for a comment, and he offered up a statement with his version of what happened. Jimmie claimed that Jane Doe was one of his closest friends. He also claimed that her allegations have no truth to him whatsoever. Unbelievably, Jimmie admitted that he had an intimate relationship with her while he was married, but he alleged that Jane Doe wanted to continue their relationship indefinitely. And Jimmie made another crazy allegation against Jane Doe. He claimed that after their relationship ended, Jane Doe's lawyers reached out to him with a demand for hush money. Jimmie claimed that he began to question Jane Doe's motive, and apparently he now believes that Jane Doe's allegations are not only totally false, but they will badly damage his career as well. Jimmie seemed to be issuing a mild threat to Jane Doe in his public statement. He told Variety that he would be mounting a vigorous legal defense, and he would be taking all other legal actions necessary to protect his reputation. I wonder if Jimmie understands that admitting to cheating on his wife before and after she gave birth has already damaged his reputation. Jane Doe's lawyer replied to Jimmie's statement. Her lawyer explained what allegedly happened after Jane Doe escaped the alleged mistreatment Jimmie's treatment. Her lawyer claimed that a request was put forward to Jimmie's legal team. Jane Doe's lawyer stated that this meeting was only to address Jane Doe's allegations against Jimmie. Jane Doe's lawyer claimed that they did not demand money from Jimmie, and shockingly, the lawyer claimed that Jimmie and his legal team responded with a hard no to Jane Doe's request. Unbelievably, the lawyer also claimed that Jimmie and his lawyers threatened them and said they would publicly tarnish Jane Doe. Jane Doe is also suing her former employer, Wide Open Music, and she's named Ash Bowers in her lawsuit too. Ash is responsible for discovering Jimmie in 2016, and when Jimmie supposedly began to mistreat Jane Doe early on in her position as manager, Jane Doe claims that she reported Jimmie's behavior to Ash. And after Jimmie allegedly physically harmed Jane Doe, she apparently reported him to Ash yet again. And what happened next is shocking. Reportedly, Ash terminated Jimmie's contract with Wide Open Music, but shockingly, Ash also fired Jane Doe too. But Ash has a different version of what happened to Jane Doe at his record label. Ash said that after he parted ways with Jimmie, Jane Doe's position was no longer required. Reportedly, Jane Doe can also offer critical proof that her allegations are true. A friend of Jane's and Jane's mother's can apparently verify her allegations. And reportedly, Jane also has hundreds of text messages with Jimmie and Ash that may also prove her allegation. Jane Doe also alleges that Jimmie tried to extort her into staying silent. And disturbingly, Jane Doe claims that Ash warned her about Jimmie before she started working for him. Jane Doe alleges that Ash called Jimmie promiscuous but harmless, and she believed that it meant Jimmie would probably try to hit on her. But sadly, Jane Doe claims that she had no warning about the extent of the mental and physical cruelty she would have to suffer. Shockingly, Jane Doe still works in the music industry. But even more shockingly, on Thursday, May 11th, 2023, Jimmie got suspended from his new label, BBR Music Group. If Jimmie was concerned about how his career would be affected, it's happening to him right now. BBR has decided to cease radio promotion of Jimmie's music. And if all this isn't crazy enough, shocking new details have emerged about Jimmie's separation from Alexis. Apparently, they both filed for divorce weeks before Jane Doe's lawsuit was made public. Jimmie never mentioned that in his Instagram announcement on April 21st. There seems to be a lot that Jimmie is keeping from us. But what do you guys think about all this? Do you believe these serious allegations against Jimmie? Do you think Alexis knew about the shocking scandal? Have your feelings changed about Jimmie as a so-called family-friendly country artist?